On this week's episode, friends don't let friends.
Joggy alone.
Hello and welcome to
Good for You.
Good for you, man. Good for you. Good for you.
Good for You, a podcast about the things we ghosted, the purchases that haunt us, the best products, services, and industry happenings in the wellness, well-being, and spiritual space. We're going to give you a healthy little dose of fun. We're going to talk about the things that are happening in pop culture, the ones that got away, the things in our cart that are haunting us or ghosting us, our strong opinions
that are loosely held. We like to call this the Grex.
The group text.
The group text in your ear. So come say hello. Join us in the audio Grex, where friends don't let friends get scammed.
Hi, Wallace.
I'm Michelle.
Okay, I have a good for who. It was just reported that Adidas, which has incubated Beyonce's Ivy Park line, is losing massive amounts of money from Ivy Park.
Is losing their shit.
Exactly. The apparel brand is taking a $200 million hit from its annual projections from Ivy Park. So Ivy Park was supposed to earn, I think, $240 million, and it only earned $40 million last year. And like at its peak, that's the most it's ever earned. And they still pay Beyonce no matter what it does, how well Ivy Park does, $20 million every year. So they're losing money on the partnership. And that combined with their, Yeezy drama, it's like it's like kind of interesting.
I forget where it was. It was TJ Maxx or something like that, where I saw Ivy Park and I was like, ooh, that's not a good sign. And that was a few years ago.
Right. It feels like it never really hit. Probably because, no matter what, Beyonce makes $20 million, regardless of like how successful Ivy Park is and how much money it makes Adidas or not. So she never promotes it. And the contract's going to end in 2023 because it's just a distribution deal. Like, I don't think Adidas doesn't like design or do anything else with Ivy Park. They just like distribute it through Adidas.
Because it used to be at Topshop as well. I remember that. But I don't really see Beyonce as marketing any products.
No, I feel like she just has billions of dollars. Like she made like whatever, $150 million or something for that performance in the Emirates. Yeah. Like what is she? I feel like she just like hangs out in her house and doesn't do anything.
No,
I mean
Beyonce.
I mean like promoting things. She's always working in her little laboratory. I'm not saying she's not doing anything, but like
the Bayhive is gonna come after you.
I know. I'm like. Yeah, she doesn't really promote a lot of stuff other than like she and Jay-Z did a Tiffany's collab. Did you see that?
Mm-hmm. And that was cool. But did she promote it or just like repost the ads they did?
I think she just like but like what, like how would she promote it? She's never been one of those celebrities that talks directly to the camera or that like goes on stories or that's on TikTok. She's removed from us. She's just not on our level. So like she's kind of a weird influencer.
She's on the pedestal. She's Queen Bey. She can't be talking to the front-facing camera.
Yeah, but do you think people buy things because Beyonce wears them?
I'm sure there's a subset of people who buy Ivy Park just because of that. But, okay, let's be honest. The designs, not very good. Never were.
Really?
I didn't think so.
I feel similarly. Rihanna had her Fenty line at Adidas, right? And I feel like that was kind of similar. It wasn't like so groundbreaking or interesting, but probably because they just licensed the Fenty name from Rihanna.
Well, the other thing too is Rihanna is more relatable than Beyonce. If we're going to talk about celebrities that are just like us, where you would see Rihanna 100%. Like wearing her stuff, you can never catch Beyonce on the street wearing Ivy Park. So there's
she's not sweating. She's not sweating in public ever.
Exactly.
She's only going to look good. And she also isn't really like papped. She's not one of those celebrities that's like caught out all the time. She's mysterious. So I don't know. I don't know. What's Adidas going to do? They've lost so much money.
Really, really not a great year for them partnerships-wise. They need to come back. They need a serious PR comeback, but also a collab. I'm sure they'll come out with like some cool collab with an interesting younger.
Was Rihanna Puma, not Adidas?
Yes.
There we go. I think Adidas was pretty high on the like above Nike for Gen Z in terms of brands that they liked. So
I could see that.
I
feel like Nike is more millennial, at least right now.
And Nike, and this is maybe an unpopular opinion, but Nike's a little try hard. Like, Nike feels like the Taylor Swift of like brands, where it's just like, I want you to love me. I'm going to work really hard. I'm really polished. I'm going to like do really cool things. And it's just not for everyone.
Nike is a little hustle culture-y.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
A little
Nike doesn't have the Riz.
Mid-aughts. Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a little like hustle hard is my motto kind of thing. I'm curious to see how that will age, because this is actually a great segue to our guest today, who, when she started her company, Outdoor Voices, if you don't know who we're talking about, it's Ty Haney.
Spoiler.
One of her main goals was to create a response to Under Armour, Nike's really performance-based ethos.
Yeah, of like, you have to have big muscles and run fast. It's about like being the most athletic. Like, you have to work your ass off. And that's really intimidating to a lot of people who wouldn't consider themselves athletes. And I know that Nike says if you move, you're an athlete, but that's not what their messaging says. And Outdoor Voices was just this welcoming, like, hey, it's cool if you haven't ever gone on a jog. Do you want to go on a jog together? We don't have to go fast. We're going to look cute. We're going to have a good time. Maybe we'll stop for brunch afterwards. It's all good.
Exactly.
Like, just as long as we're doing something, right? Doesn't matter what the calories are or how fast we go. So Ty started Outdoor Voices when she was 23 in New York, and the company has obviously grown. She's moved past the company, left the company, and started her own thing with tyb, Try Your Best, and her incubated brand Joggy, which is an energy supplement company. We should let Ty explain tyb and Joggy and everything she's up to.
Yeah, it was really a pleasure and a delight to talk to her. We hope you enjoy the episode.
Ty, I also just have to let you know that I still have one of the original pairs of OV running shorts. I used to train Barbara Bush.
Yeah,
and
amazing.
I remember when she came in, she brought me a sports bra and 2 pairs of shorts. She was like, my friend Ty is like starting this company and you should try these and see if you like them.
That's awesome.
They're still my favorite running shorts. I think I ran an ultra marathon in them. Like, they're the best.
I love to hear that. That's amazing. Yeah, the OGOV is the best. I actually was looking back recently at our first photo shoot and was like, damn, that's all we should have ever sold. It's just like the fit in these 3 colors.
Bring them back. Bring them back. I would buy those shorts in every single color. They're my favorite.
Honestly, same.
Thank you guys. That's awesome.
Did you ever have a moment of thinking of pulling a Dove Charney where you're like, I'm just going to remake American Apparel, but call it Los Angeles Apparel and take my entire IP and just reshoot it?
Yes. And I think at some point that will happen, particularly with like this new way of building where community can, be stakeholders in the company. I think like ultimately the next great Nike, which could be the next great OV, et cetera, will be community founded, led and owned. And so rather than, 10 or 20 VCs on the cap table, loyal fans and customers, et cetera, out of the gates can have stake or aligned incentives for being part of the next Nike or OV. And that becomes a really exciting future. And just kind of going there, the one thing that immediately stood out to me as we think about Web3 meets consumer is that the idea of ownership. So for being a loyal fan of Outdoor Voices and contributing to the success of the brand by telling my friends or showing up to an event, like I should be rewarded for that. And ownership at the end of the day is what Web3 is all about, and getting rewarded for your contribution. So yes, let's not rule it out. Like definitely my personal mission and passion why I wake up every day is to help inspire people to make activity or movement as foundational to their everyday as eating, drinking, and sleeping. And so we'll talk about Joggy. That's, one brand and product that's doing that. But I'd love to, at some point, have another shot at kind of the activewear space for sure.
It gave me full body chills when you said the next Nike is going to be community found, like for real.
Yeah.
I'm not.
How exciting, right? Come on.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And I kind of wonder, you've become an influencer CEO. I'm sure you didn't like create that term. I don't think that you went out there in the world like, gosh, I hope that I become super famous and I have all these loyal fans and followers. But has that really like impacted how you started these businesses and maybe even how you test products and ideas?
very much in the early innings with Outdoor Voices, me kind of being the face of it helped us big time. And ultimately, like, here's myself, 23 years old, and like wanting to create the next great activewear brand, female founded. Most of the activewear brands, or if not all of the big ones at the time, had been founded by men, and we're really about kind of this macho prioritizing crossing the finish line first or having the biggest muscles. And so when OV came into the scene or onto the scene, like, being a woman really helped us. And so the emotional connection that we were able to build essentially with Outdoor Voices, our mission, and then me as the founder and really, taking on the space in a new way I wouldn't do it differently. That said, a few years later when it became a hot trend to take female founders down, like, that also became the Achilles heel. But
yeah.
At the end of the day, like, it, to me, is brand building is all about authenticity. And I think we're even seeing that with TikTok trends. It's a whole wild world with TikTok and brands today, but the de-influencing is now becoming a big thing. And at the end of the day, it comes down to like authentic brand building, authentic storytelling, and it starts with me. And it starts with us as our team. So that's always been the way that I have operated.
Just to double click on what you said about the CEO female takedown, when you were amongst that, did you see it for what it was at the time in terms of an unfair treatment, or were you kind of able to step back at the time, or is it more now after we've seen so many Business Insider articles, especially take down female CEOs, are you seeing it with different eyes now than you were at the time?
Let's see. I would say starting at the top, in any startup or business, like, there's like a long list of challenges every day. So like, we have to normalize that there are challenges within a company. And for this readership or audience that a lot of these female journalists were speaking to, like, they haven't built a company, et cetera, so they wouldn't know. And so that became like clickbait and like shocking. Oh my God, the dog pooped there and someone on the team had to pick it up. Like, Whoa, what an allegation. At the time when I was sent this really lovely email essentially stating all of these allegations against me, I was like, what in the world is this going to be? Like, my life's going to be over. That said, this article came out, like, people who had been part of the team, could brush it off and be like, no, this is not the experience. But unfortunately, like, it became a thing to go to 5 ex-employees and like really amplify whatever, their thoughts were, which, if you were let go from a company, it may not be sweet. You know what I mean? So it was interesting, but I think, like, for me and for female founders, this is par for the course. Like, it's not going away. And as much of a thing as I made it, when it happened, like, life goes on. And the one thing people can't take away from you is your ability to set a vision and then go build and execute against it. And so we need more examples of people who have kind of some controversial moment, but lean into it and evolve, refine, et cetera, but keep going.
Yeah, that resiliency is really impressive. Also, like, weren't you pregnant when that story came out?
Yeah. That was a very wild time. I think I had just had Sunny.
Oh my God.
And it was crazy. Yeah, as you know. Having a kid in and of itself is crazy, but all of that on top of it was just, not what anyone wishes for themselves or anyone else.
It's like inhumane in a way. I feel, it's just ruthless.
Yes.
Shame. Shame. Shame.
But you came out of it. I mean, you have these hardcore stands who I feel like would follow you and do anything that you do, any company you start. And I actually kind of love that you've leveraged that into Web3, because I think that with TYB, crypto and Web3 NFTs are such a mystery, especially to, I would say, a lot of women, although there are a lot of people in the space who are trying to create more, build more equity from the ground up in Web3 for people who aren't just white men. But first, let's go back and we're getting ahead of ourselves. Tell us what TYB is for anyone who's listening who's like not quite sure.
Yeah, of course. TYB stands for Try Your Best, and we've created a Web3 loyalty and rewards platform that allow brands to directly incentivize their fans for valuable action. So we think of it as brands making their community a growth channel. And this is really informed by my experience at Outdoor Voices. So with OV, we were a direct-to-consumer business. we spent way too much money on Facebook and Instagram trying to acquire fans, and ultimately they were fans or customers that weren't going to stick with us. And kind of next to that, we ran this really nice community strategy where we had many thousand people part of this distributed network that we called Team OV. It was influencers, fans, customers, etc., people who believed in the mission. And really what that looked like was they'd show up to every Outdoor Voices event that we were hosting, or they'd host Outdoor Voices events on their own as kind of the empowered owners of that event. They'd come upstream in product development processes to help pick colorways, etc. They were co-creators of essentially what OV looked and felt like. And that kind of community effort became our most valuable way to introduce new people to the brand. And so anyone coming through this higher touch community effort was ultimately 4 times more valuable than someone coming through Instagram or Facebook. And brands today are seeing this left and right. Like, we've been so focused on customer acquisition, we haven't cared enough about retention and building lifetime value. And so what excites me about TYB and leveraging the blockchain for this direct value creation between brands and fans is ultimately it's a better business model than brands being structurally reliant on ad platforms. And so, yeah, that's where we focused. And again, it's informed by a model that didn't work in a lot of ways kind of in the direct-to-consumer space.
It's interesting, too, because at the same time as brands are facing this reckoning with D2C, so are content creators, I feel like. Mm-hmm. And the idea of 1,000 true fans, which we talk about a lot here, is so resonant for so many brands at many layers as creators and brands come together now to create communities.
The cool thing about Web3 and the consumer space is there's certainly a massive opportunity to really revolutionize how brands and creators or brands and fans come together to create value together, and both have something to show for it. So you guys will know this, and I'm excited to kind of learn more about your POV here. But back to Outdoor Voices, in the early innings, we had this blue Doing Things hat that really was your symbol of your belonging to the community, and you could only get it by showing up to an event in the early innings. And so there was a little bit of friction. You had to play to earn. And that was cool, because then when you had the blue Doing Things hat and you're showing up to a yoga class and someone else has it, you high five, you're part of the same thing. There's like this sense of belonging. And that blue Doing Things hat like very much symbolizes, your participation in this community. Well, that very naturally to me becomes something that's digital, lives in a wallet, and still kind of shows status or belonging, but also has the ability to unlock perks and experiences. And at the end of the day, like in my brand building experience, like all that matters is building an experiential funnel where really there's stickiness built over a lifetime with the customer versus a one and done, transaction focused experience.
You've got some pretty like sticky brands that are using TYB right now. I think of My Topicals and just how cool that founder story kind of reminds me of you a little bit.
She's amazing,
and how people also are obsessed with the product. It's an incredible product. What's it been like onboarding D2C founders? Like, are they, I don't know, suspicious, or are they like, oh my God, this is exactly what we need?
It's interesting because there's the same underlying toolkit, but depending on the audience, like the word loyalty has baggage for some, or influencer has baggage for some. That said, like there's 3 kind of ways that brands are using the tool, and it is new loyalty. So like a full stack solution to offering rewards for action and then allowing people to redeem for those rewards. The second is like using the toolkit as your community or ambassador all-in-one solution, which there's a ton of kind of influencer platforms out there, but they take like a piece. And so this is an end-to-end solution, which is really, really nice. And the third is what we call kind of the brand building archetype. And we used this with a brand that we incubated called Joggy, but it's allowing brands from zero to essentially bring their initial starting lineup of community members into the equation via a collectible, whether it be paid or not. And so the terminology is something we're still kind of experimenting with because, for instance, with enterprise, loyalty feels like a beast. And so you want to make it like more of a micro wedge to get the thumbs up. Yes, we're going to use this tool. Whereas loyalty might be attractive to more of a D2C type brand.
Do you feel like younger founders or companies are a little bit more hip to be on board when they hear Web3 and community-based signifiers that show a different perspective in growth?
Yeah, with the brands that we've gotten on board first, it is very much a Gen Z and kind of young millennial audience, which is interesting because that's what all of the larger enterprise want. And so we've really focused on onboarding those where it's like, I get this. This was like a fun game to like play with my community.
Yeah.
And then like as the ecosystem grows and it is Gen Z focused, that becomes more and more attractive to those that need Gen Z. So yeah, you got that exactly right.
So you started 2 companies at the same time. Joggy, it sounds like, was sort of like within a Russian nesting doll within TYB. How's the build been going with Joggy?
Yeah, I left Outdoor Voices a year and a half ago. It's funny because I had gone back like twice. I think when this article came out, I had to Google how to resign because I hadn't done that before. And I took this like very formal, I hereby tender my resignation, doing things, Ty. And then I'm like, how dramatic.
No longer doing things, Ty.
Yeah. And then I went back for a while and I had kind of been put in a box and it was just not a way for me to operate.
We both come from startup backgrounds, and hearing your story about the cap table growing and what that was like for you to manage expectations and then having 3 different strategies for growth, and especially as the youngest person in the room and as a woman with probably very little female support, how has that affected the way you fundraise for both TYB and Joggy and who you consider as part of your seed rounds? And
yeah, the direct-to-consumer VC-funded model, I would say, has low probability of like major success. And so obviously there's some of the unicorns, et cetera, that, attract people to growing in this way where you've raised so much money. But like what comes with that is the expectation to grow at breakneck speed. And particularly in a physical product company, like with inventory, like I don't know that that's the right approach. And so we felt that firsthand with way too much inventory. And yes, like you said, we had many kind of strategies going at once to try and knock down kind of this hockey stick growth. So there's many learnings that I've applied from that experience to the new businesses, but I've been a lot more methodical and kind of thoughtful and patient as it relates to who I've chosen to go with from a funding perspective. And so our cap table on a hand, you can count who's on it, and just being much more protective of that dynamic and like who you truly want to partner with versus, everyone and their mother and we're going to raise a ton of money. And raising too much money ultimately is not a good thing. And so we've also been tempered in just how we're funding these projects. And with Joggy is a brand that it's actually the first brand that I started after Outdoor Voices and very much feels consistent with kind of this mission to inspire movement. It's an energy supplement. It's plant-based, clean energy. Think, how do we replace something like a Red Bull or a Monster energy drink with something that's actually good for you? But really, a few things coming off my last experience that were important was not raise too much money, just the amount that we need to like start to build a healthy, profitable model. And then bring leadership in sooner. That was something that I wish I would have been able to do or done differently in the past, was get people in to come support and complement my skill set. And so both with TYB and Joggy, we have a CEO who I work with at Joggy that came from the supplement space and like is a master of the fundamentals, has built the business model. I can go focus on product, brand, and community. And then with TYB, where I'm the CEO, we have a 4-person leadership team, and it's so much fun to like have people that are way better than you in different areas, like coming together as a team. So a lot of learnings kind of packed in and applied from the OV experience.
Absolutely.
Okay, dude, how do you split your time? You have 2 companies, you have 2 kids, like you're doing all the things. Like how do you split your week?
Joggy and TYB are very synergistic. And so it's funny, I had started Joggy because it was a product that like I wanted to reach for. Pre-workouts hadn't worked for me. I was someone who drank Red Bull and was like, oh shit, I'm going to, knock days off my life by continuing to drink this. So that was really solving for a personal pain point. And then as I went to think through how do we go to market with a brand in this day and age, that's where TYB was born. And so we ended up selling a Joggy Doggy collectible before launching any of the product. And again, sold it to 500 community members for $250 each, came with a suite of perks, and had our first kind of 1,500 true fans. So those two are very synergistic, but I'm like someone who very much craves routine. So first thing every day, I go for a jog.
Do you have a doggie?
I have 3 doggies.
Nice.
And a pony. I guess I like a lot going on at once. But yeah, I also just crave kind of routine. And so where my husband's a singer, he's gone often. I'm mostly here and going through the same emotions every day. Yeah.
Do you, not to get too in the weeds, but just a little bit, are you like half day focusing on certain aspects of TYB and then switching with joggy, or is it really much more synergistic because joggy helps you test all of the TYB products, which is genius also?
Yeah. Given I'm the CEO of TYB, the majority of my time goes there.
Mm-hmm.
And just like being in the SaaS space and Web3 is so new that like it requires 90% of effort, right? And like going and selling to enterprise brands, that's like a whole new muscle to develop, which has been fun. Whereas joggy feels more familiar just given the space and the physical product. And so that feels more like I get to, almost like a hobby, or like that's so much fun and easier to do kind of at the end of the day, or kind of like around as peripheral moments. But yes, they work very closely together, and joggy being successful on TYB, it actually has driven like 50% of our inbounds. And so it's an important kind of part of TYB's go-to-market.
Yeah, so much in Web3 can be, like theoretical. It feels theoretical. So when you see something in practice and how it works, you're like, oh, okay, I get it. I can like buy into this thing.
Totally. And that's really what we're anchored to, is like, how do we leverage the blockchain and collectibles to unlock like real utility? That word's overused, but I think given kind of where the markets are and the FTX thing, like people are not landing well with crypto, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And so we've really prioritized making it very clear kind of what you unlock by getting a collectible, and even staying away from a lot of the crypto language. We speak to it as a collectible versus NFT.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Like, how's crypto winter going for you in that sense? Because ultimately a lot of the fundamentals are similar, but people are so triggered by the language used around it right now.
Sort of insulates you from the connotation or association with what's happening in the crypto space.
Yeah, and I think back to, again, the direct-to-consumer model not working for many, and like realizing that we're spending way too much with the middleman. We're in a lucky kind of place at the moment, just given everyone's focused on retention, loyalty, and how do I get more from the customers I have. And then I think with the Starbucks, Odyssey, and Nike.swoosh, like those two have been significant tailwinds. Even as of January, like we have a brand signing up every week at least. And so people are accelerating into this, but we're very thoughtful about obfuscating any of the complexity of crypto, and it feels very much like a familiar experience, but it's a game, it's fun, and over time the value creation opportunities on the fan side will become more and more meaningful, which will ultimately add to the flywheel in terms of engagement and interacting in this way.
Yeah, it's refreshing to hear how much you're using gameplay and play in general, because sometimes brands forget that community interaction is reciprocal. And I'm curious how you think about play when it comes to internally running the culture of both companies, but also how that translates into what you guys are launching as far as products go.
Yeah, from a toolkit perspective, like the core engagement is what we call a rep card. Rep card comes from rep, like reps at a gym, and reputation over time. So really, if you think of like Twitter and the action you take as a tweet, with TYB, over time, reps are what we'll start to make external. But I think just given a lot of this is so new, we've tried to simplify and use language that people understand before introducing too much newness. From a playfulness and culture perspective, one thing I learned from the past was it can be dangerous to be like too playful. Like at our core, like we're here to win. And so a culture of winners is very much like what we come back to every day. What's the progress we're making? What are the wins that we're having on a daily basis? And then the way that comes to life can be playful and fun and gamified and interesting to interact with, but the tone internally has to be, again, like very performance-based. And in the past, like it almost felt like people who joined like the recreation brand and Outdoor Voices, like also felt that everything was like chill and cool, and like that doesn't make for a winning recipe.
Yeah.
And so that we take very seriously, and that is part of why bringing the leadership team in who can lead to kind of that expectation in terms of excellence is super important. And I'm a lot more comfortable like being okay with that, and as a leader, like setting that expectation that it's not like to be likable or whatever, like we're here to win, like otherwise we're wasting each other's time. So that's definitely evolved. And then having come from team sports, just like that comes up a lot. Is like we have a team with everyone wanting to take shots, which is awesome. We have a strong offense. We also have a defense, and so we bring in a lot of kind of team analogies or team sport analogies to the day-to-day.
That's really refreshing. I think that like that might, what you just described might surprise or like even rub some people the wrong way of like, no, we should be a family. Work should be fun. And like, it should be play all the time. But I don't know. I feel like you have so much confidence clearly as a leader now. Like you've been through the ringer. So, you've had to like really find yourself and your leadership style and what works for you. And also like it's business. And I think for women, often we're not expected to run our businesses like businesses. We're expected to run them like hobbies or passion projects.
Yeah.
And we get a sort of like side eye if we have any different perspective. So I just find that perspective so refreshing. Thanks for sharing it with us.
100%. And with the OV experience, like I very much learned or felt firsthand what it means to be accountable as a CEO. And like whether or not there's like dynamics that other people create that like feel untenable or, that wasn't created by me. Like at the end of the day, it comes down to my accountability and my responsibility. And that's something that's awesome. Like it sucks to like learn when you don't do it so well, but like you take it very seriously the next time. So that is the evolved Ty myself. It's exciting.
Well, there's also something to be said about structured play too. I think that like simple and easy often get confused. Something can be simple but not easy, and that doesn't mean it's not worthwhile, even if the end result looks like it was easy. It usually wasn't.
It's funny, like our name is Try Your Best, but like that maybe some people could joke like, that sounds juvenile or something, but like it's really a mindset that you show up to work or to play with every day. So quality and doing something exceptionally well is kind of our North Star. And when we do that well, it becomes fun. It becomes easy. People want to continue to engage because they're making progress towards a goal and an empowered, part of the team. And that's me speaking to brands and fans again within the TYB platform, but that's what good looks like.
Like it or not, economics has become a bit like a Catholic theology in medieval Europe. It has basically become the language of the rulers. So if you don't speak economics, you cannot participate in any debate.
Are you guys working remotely? I know that your teams are small right now. Are you guys centralized anywhere? Because I know you were saying when you moved the team to Austin with OV, you were like looking back on it, some people could have been remote, but at the time that just wasn't really the case with how we've been working since COVID. How are you feeling about that now?
We're fully remote. A number of us get together kind of every 6 weeks, and it's a different kind of group depending on what the priority is. But it's funny because I had started Outdoor Voices in New York, which was really helpful just from an awareness standpoint, but then ultimately moved the company to Austin. Really wanted it to be kind of rooted in a place that was, from a lifestyle perspective, more recreational and in line with the mission, and it really worked. That said, I remember the board very much not agreeing with that move, and so there were a lot of kind of constraints placed on that decision. I remember someone saying, like, you're a fashion company, you need to be in New York, and I'm like, we're not a fashion company, we're a recreation company. And ultimately, Austin became such a beautiful foundation for the brand, and Austin now is where everyone and their mother are moving, so I was ahead of my time.
You have good instincts. Like you're always ahead, and maybe in some ways that's painful.
Yes.
It can be.
People don't always get it, but it's impressive.
I literally, speaking about painful, I went to REI the other day to buy a tent, and the entire top floor of clothing was made out of our cloud knit. So one of the fabrics that we had created with our material lab, fabric lab, I can't even remember what the hell you call that. Anyway, and I'm like, oh my God, the whole floor is cloud knit of all these different brands. I'm like, if only I had, a little bit more of the money to show for that. It was interesting.
Well, I think that kind of segues into your sexy, unique scam.
I like a sexy, unique scam.
We love to hear it.
Give me a little more color on what resonates there.
Okay. Sexy, unique scam is something that we are seeing in the world that we're a little curious about. We feel like it might be a scam, but we also might want to be scammed by it. We'd join the cult. We'd drink the Kool-Aid potentially.
Yeah.
Like Skechers shape-ups.
Yeah.
That's a sexy, unique scam, like.
Wait, I recently got a pair of Skechers. Did you see that?
No. No. They're back. Okay, so this is not a drag on you whatsoever. Skechers are back, but we lamented in a few episodes past that we were sold the lie that we would have differently shaped legs if we wore Skechers shape-ups when we were, 13.
Yeah.
I love Skechers. They didn't have the shape-ups actually at the sports store the other day.
Honestly, if they brought those back, I think they'd slay.
They're like little mini Bosu balls underneath the balls of your feet. They're incredible. They're so comfortable.
Totally. Before we started TYB, we have been incubating kind of a footwear project that eventually, we're not going to do it immediately. We have our hands full, but we have a few brands in a box that at some point in time when we have the ecosystem on TYB, we'll essentially hand over to the community to own, run, and lead, which will be very fun.
Cool.
Any brand should be so lucky. You guys put Hoka's on the map. Full stop. People did not know Hoka's before you guys.
I know.
Unless they were a certain type of runner,
No, Hoka, I was a runner, and Hoka's were like, you have arthritis.
Totally.
But they're so comfortable.
I like to think we certainly helped them out. And then I read their earnings report, I think last Thursday, and was like, what?
Yeah, exactly.
They grew phenomenally. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Hoka for sure. Sexy, unique scam. Is that right? Unique scam?
That's right.
Have you guys seen this rolling dog ball on TikTok?
No, tell me more.
Oh my God.
I'm intrigued.
It's literally active rolling dog ball in whatever the TikTok best friend voice is.
This is the active rolling ball. It automatically rolls and moves, keeping my dog entertained for hours when I'm busy. My dog goes crazy over this toy.
And I'm seeing it everywhere, and it's just a ball that takes on a life of its own, and these dogs are going nuts for it. And I'm very intrigued. This might also be the haunted cart because I haven't pulled the trigger yet, but I'm very into it. And I'm like, damn, that looks like fun for myself in addition to the I'll send you guys a video there because it's very cool, supposedly.
I can see people taking their dog and this ball to the park and just being like, okay, bye.
I would do that with my child. Are you kidding me? It's like,
totally.
Okay, I gotta get to some emails. Go have fun.
There are a lot of applications. And then let's see, haunted cart.
Haunted cart.
Okay, these cowboy looking pants, the pants that have bow legs. Have you seen these jeans or these pants?
No.
Okay. I'm going to send you a link. They are so Gumby looking goofy, but I want them. I keep getting, it's that thing where you keep getting ads for something.
Yes.
And when you first see it, you're like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Why would anyone even buy? And then you're you see it enough times and you're like, do I want this? Yeah, it's in my brain. I went so far as to add them to my cart yesterday, and then I was like, I can't buy these $200 Gumby pants. These are ridiculous. No, they're gonna look so stupid on me. But they're there. They're haunting me, and I'm thinking about it, but I don't think I'm gonna do it.
So the active rolling ball is, I think, 2-in-1, but something that for years has been haunting me, and it's very old school, but it's in one of the essentially things that you can buy stuff from the airline. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Sky Mall is the best.
Sky Mall. There's this pair of sweatpants that has denim printed over it, so it looks like jeans, but it's sweatpants. And I'm like, are they cool? Are they horrible? But literally for years, that's what immediately just popped in my mind. So it's in a very analog cart somewhere.
It's like perennially haunting you.
Yeah. It's been 10 years, but I can't shake it. I'm going to also find a picture, tear it out, and send it to you in the mail.
Yeah, sometimes those things just need to be exercised so they can free psychic space for you. That's how we justify it.
Time all might not exist anymore. I'm going to go find out now, but I'll let you guys know.
Please do.
Please do. I feel like we've gotten a lot of potential teases for potential Joggy products in the future. Just saying. Is there anything that Joggy is doing or TYB is launching in the next little while that you're really excited about?
So when we launched the Joggy community, we kicked off the Joggy energy drink co-creation kind of initiative. And the goal was, how do we make a clean, good for you energy drink? The new energy drink superstar is how I think about it. And so we worked for the last 7 months with the group to help pick flavors, talk about carbonation, understand kind of what people like and what they don't on the market. And we just came out with the first essentially pass or development of it, which the community got access to. And it's awesome. There's a super premium caffeine source called Alma Tea. We're essentially taking insights from this run, folding them into kind of the next version, and then starting to get the drink out there. So Joggy Energy is the drink. You'll only be able to get it at Joggy events or as a collectible holder. So to get the Joggy collectible, you go to joggy.tyb.xyz, and you can help essentially power the creation of the Joggy energy drink.
Can I just tell you, I went to Aeron this weekend and I bought like 7 different energy drinks.
I know, I'm drinking one.
This one was pretty good. And Miles is drinking one. Like all of a sudden I was like, I just want energy drinks all the time. Like, am I going to go back to sugar-free Monster? Like, I don't know.
Right.
No, I'm not. I'm going to try the Joggy drink.
Something needs to replace Celsius because we all know Celsius is disgusting. I'm saying it.
This will absolutely replace it. The caffeine that we use is like, I characterize it as steady energy. You get this like Energizer Bunny buzz. And it's very simple. It's hibiscus tea and the energy. So there's no sugar. It's really lovely. So we'll replace any of what you've just mentioned with Joggy Energy.
This is music to our ears. Almost every episode we try a new drink at the beginning of the episode. Mm-hmm. And so
I'll send it to you.
We're going to have to do the taste test of the Joggy drink.
I know, I'm like typing it in right now. Am I in the loyalty program yet?
You gotta go. You gotta get a Joggy Doggy collectible. So I'll send you the steps and we'll get you in there, guys.
Ty, this was so lovely.
Seriously. Thanks for spending the time with us. We know you're busy.
Thank you guys. I love what you're doing as well. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, that's that. Hope you enjoyed the episode.
I feel like I'm like, a peek behind the curtain at how brands are doing things. Actually doing things.
It's a great slogan. I'm excited to check out the Joggy community. We will link everything in the show notes, including where you can go and collect your Joggy collectible. You can also try Joggy for a discounted price.
Thanks for listening.
Have a great summer.
Don't change.
Or do. Bye.
And we'll see you next week. Bye.
Good For You is produced by yours truly, Wallace Miller Blanchard. Our theme song is by Parallel Dance Ensemble, and our wonderful editing is done by Softer Sound Studio, who you can find more information about at the link in our show notes.